Hey, how you doing, guys? It's Mike. I'm here with another video for you. Sort of similar to my last video. Today I want to talk about the killing of Tim Mclean. On July 30th, 2008, Tim Mclean, a carnival barker, was returning home to Winnipeg after working at a fair in Edmonton. He departed Edmonton on board Greyhound Bus 1170 to Winnipeg via the Yellowhead Highway through Saskatchewan. He sat at the rear, one row ahead of the toilet. At 6:55 p.m., the bus departed from a stop in Erickson, Manitoba, with a new passenger, Vince Lee. Lee, described as a tall man in his 40s, with a shaved head and sunglasses, originally sat near the front of the bus, but moved to sit next to Mclean following a scheduled rest stop. Mclean barely acknowledged Lee, then fell asleep against the pane, headphones covering his ears. Actually, I've read in another article that he was the only one to say hi to him, so then that's why he sat beside him. According to witnesses, Mclean was sleeping with his headphones on when the man sitting next to him suddenly produced a large knife and began stabbing him in the neck and chest. After the attack began, the bus driver pulled to the side of the road, and he and all of the other passengers fled the vehicle. The driver and two other men made an attempt to rescue Mclean, but were chased away by Lee, who slashed at them from behind the locked bus doors. Lee ultimately decapitated Mclean and displayed his severed head to those standing outside the bus, then returned to Mclean's body and began severing other parts and consuming some of Mclean's flesh. At 8:30 p.m., the Royal Canadian Mounted Police in Portage-la Prairie received a report of a stabbing on a Greyhound bus west of the city. They arrived to find the suspect still on board the bus, being prevented from escaping by another passenger, the bus driver, and a truck driver who had provided a crowbar and a hammer as weapons. The other passengers were huddled at the roadside, some of them crying and vomiting. As the suspect had earlier attempted to escape by driving the bus away, the driver had engaged the emergency immobilizer system, rendering the vehicle inoperable. Witnesses had observed the suspect stabbing and cutting Mclean's body with a knife and carrying Mclean's severed head. By 9 p.m., police were in a standoff with the suspect and had summoned special negotiators and a heavily armed tactical unit. The suspect alternately paced the length of the bus and defiled the corpse. Police officers then observed Lee eating parts of the body. Meanwhile, the stranded passengers were transported from the scene to be interviewed at the Brandon RCMP detachment. RCMP officers repeatedly heard Lee say, "I have to stay on the bus forever." On July 31st, 2008, at 1:30 a.m., the suspect attempted to escape from the bus by breaking through a window. The RCMP arrested Lee soon afterward. He was shot with a taser twice, handcuffed and placed in the back of a police cruiser. Parts of the victim's body, placed in plastic bags, were retrieved from the bus, while his ear, nose, and tongue were found in Lee's pockets. The victim's eyes and a part of his heart were never recovered and are presumed to have been eaten by Lee. Ooh. At 10 a.m., Greyhound representatives took the other passengers to a local store to replace their clothes, which remained on the bus. They arrived in Winnipeg at 3:30 p.m. that day to be reunited with family members and friends. Okay. So, this guy Lee, he was a Chinese guy. He was hearing voices telling him to kill. Now listen to this. This is from the Winnipeg Free Press. When he was in the psychiatric unit, they interviewed him, and he answered some questions, and here are his answers. When did you begin to experience schizophrenia? In 2004. I didn't know what it was. I now know what it is. I began to hear voices that normal people do not hear. I thought I heard the voice of God telling me to write down my journey. The voice told me that I was the third story of the Bible, that I was like the second coming of Jesus. I was to save people from a space alien attack. That is why I traveled around the country. I am not sure of all the places I went to. I now know that it was schizophrenia I was suffering from. Or was it? Was it V2K from Canadian Forces Station Leitrim? You see, V2K is real. They can put voices in your head with microwave frequencies and zap you and torch you and all kinds of stuff. And, the Canadian government has a targeting program. And if you talk about Freemasons on the internet, they target you. So they can put voices in your head and they tell you to kill, 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 and then they get you thrown in jail. Now, why did you do what you did on the bus? I bought a knife at Canadian Tire. I bought it for any emergency for the journey to protect myself from the aliens. I was really scared. I believed he was an alien. The voices told me to kill him, that he would kill me or others. Okay, so whenever someone's hearing voices, it's always like, kill, kill, kill. Why don't they ever hear voices tell them to go to get a banana split or something? Like, what is with this killing? Why? It's almost like something the military would want done, like Canadian Forces Station Leitrim. Here's another thing. It says, according to the transcript, Lee believed McLean was an alien who needed to be destroyed, because that's what the voices told him. Lee also thought God was instructing him to kill McLean in order to protect others. No, it wasn't God. It was Canadian Forces Station Leitrim, using their targeting program with V2K, voice to skull. In the transcript, Lee talks about buying a knife to protect himself from aliens, as well as hearing voices telling him to cut off McLean's head. What is it with these voices always telling these people to kill people and cut their heads off? Like I said, if you're hearing voices and they're just random, why wouldn't they talk about go make a peanut butter sandwich? You know what I mean? It's always killing. Yeah, and that's exactly what a military wants to do. They want to be able to have remote control killers, and they put voices in their head and they turn them into patsies. And you know what? If you don't know anything about this, you can watch my targeted individual gang stalking playlist, and you'll learn all about V2K and remote control frequencies that they can control your brain with and zap you and put voices in your head. And they mimic a mental illness on purpose. It's the perfect cover story because nobody will believe you. No normal person anyway. No average Joe. And the majority of people are average Joes. So, this is from the Globe and Mail. It says, Mr. Lee's trial was told he was an untreated schizophrenic who heard voices telling him to kill. Just sort of like Luca Rocco Magnotta heard voices telling him to kill. Just like that guy in Calgary, DeGrood, he heard voices telling him to kill. Just like all the mass shooters in the United States, all of them are hearing voices telling them to kill. There seems to be a consistent voice here trying to get people to kill with V2K. And by the way, if you're in the United States, V2K is controlled from Schriever Air Force Base. Okay. The man who beheaded a passenger on a Greyhound bus was a victim himself. Yes, he was. Tormented by the voice of God, telling him to do it, a forensic psychiatrist told Vince Lee's second-degree murder trial Tuesday. The voice told Lee to use an assumed name. A voice told him to use an assumed name? Why would he do that? That's like... yeah, an imaginary voice would not do that. Come on. Canadian Forces Station Leitrim was telling him exactly how to kill someone. Okay. The voice told Lee to use an assumed name and get on the bus traveling from Edmonton to Thunder Bay, Ontario last July, Dr. Stanley Yerin said on the first day of Lee's trial. Lee chose to sit next to Tim Mclean because McLean made a friendly gesture to him, Yerin said. As the bus neared Portage La Prairie, Manitoba, around 8:30 p.m., 40-year-old Lee started hearing voices. Oh, they turned on the V2K, Canadian Forces Station Leitrim, murdering people. A voice from God, CFS Leitrim, told him Mr. McLean was a force of evil and was about to execute him, Yerin told the judge hearing the case. He had to act fast to protect himself. In response to that, in a state of panic and fearful for his life, he carried out the acts that he did. Killing Mclean wasn't enough, Yaron said. Lee, whom Yaron diagnosed as schizophrenic, believed 22-year-old Mclean was still capable of coming back to life, so he continued to mutilate the body and scattered the parts around the bust, the psychiatrist testified. Now, the reason he thought the body could still come to life is because the voices told him that. And just so you know, he cut that guy up and put all the body parts around the bust. So I'm going to leave a link down below the video, and you could, viewer discretion advised. It's pictures of the crime scene, so do not take this warning lightly. They're gruesome photos. If you don't like gruesome stuff, don't look at it. I can't put it in the video because it's that bad. Okay, although he admitted to his guilt to officers that night, Lee pleaded not guilty on Tuesday. His lawyers are arguing he's not criminally responsible because he's mentally ill. Yaron concurred. Lee is still psychotic and believes it's just a matter of time before God kills him, Yaron said. He continues to have hallucinations and hear voices, but is on strong antipsychotic medication. So he's on strong antipsychotic medication, but he's still hearing voices, so it's not working. Because antipsychotic medication doesn't stop frequencies. It doesn't stop microwave hearing and V2K. And all these killings going on in Canada are from Canadian Forces Station Leitrim, putting voices in people's head. They're all Freemasons at that station, and they're murdering people. So, Vince Lee, he now lives as a free man in Canada under the name Will Baker. So, these microwave frequencies and these military bases using V2K and signals intelligence to murder people, they need to be exposed big time. I mean, Tim Mclean's family or friends could watch this video and they would not believe what I'm saying. Watch my targeted playlist. Watch the targeted individual gang stalking playlist, and you will believe it after I show you all the evidence, okay? Look at the evidence first, then you can decide, because I have actual evidence, okay? So, Canadian Forces Station Leitrim, killing all kinds of people in Canada.